Hello, everyone. I want to welcome you all to Global Entrepreneurship Week. That is the world's largest celebration of the innovators and job creators who launch startups that bring ideas to life, drive economic growth, and expand human welfare. On the occasion of this event, you are here today to learn more about how to present confidence in the real and virtual world by today's lecturer, Peter Hopwood. Peter is a global keynote speaker coach and TEDx coach, founder of Hopwood Speaker Coaching. Peter travels the globe helping people tell clearer stories with stronger impact and bringing more value to their ideas. He helps executives and entrepreneurs develop their speaking style in front of a crowd or on camera, gain investment, and proceed with impact. From Dubai to Amsterdam, Shanghai to Berlin, Peter's workshops and coaching skills are in high demand across global digital, entrepreneurship, and business scene. Equally, as an internationally experienced live events MC, Peter has developed an extensive global portfolio shaping large-scale conferences. He loves to be kept on his toes wearing many hats as mentor, coach, presenter, and voiceover talent. Peter has lived in 7 countries and now lives in Croatia. You can ask questions during the chat and we will discuss them later. Without any further ado, I give the floor to Peter and wish him best of luck.
Hello. Hi. Hopefully you can hear me. Right. What I need you to do first of all, before we go any further, if you can hear me, I need to know. So on my side, so remember, from my side, I don't know actually who's here on the streaming and also in that room. So it's always helpful for the speaker, for the presenter, for the person sharing information to know a little bit more about who's here. If in a normal room, face to face, I can do that because I can see you, I can hear you, I can see your body language, I can get a sense of what's going on. But right now, as you can see, whenever you do something on Zoom, online, it's difficult to do that. So I'm going to ask you right now, just in the chat, just say who you are and where you're from. If you do that right now, I'll give you 5 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. It's too fast, I think. Wonderful. Christina, hi. Who else is here? Just Christina, right. So it's just me and Christina for today. It's me, Christina, Dora, Rocco student. I like that. Is that your surname? Presime, student. So Rocco student, fantastic. Dora from Split and Christina, and I'm sure there's lots of others. So as we go on, if you just let me know who you are. Also in a normal world as well, on the screen here, I would also ask you, if I was presenting and we could do this, I would ask you to not to be unmute, but to show yourself on the camera. Because remember, whenever you present, it's so important to see and have that connection with the person you're sharing your messages to. Right now, I can't do that. I can only see a few people. I can only see the names on my right in the chat. But normally, asking your attendees to show themselves is a good thing, right? So always ask your attendees to show themselves. They don't have to put it on unmute because they don't have to share information. And also the sound in the different rooms affects the presentation as well. But always asking them to show themselves is a good thing. Right. So today, for the next 25 minutes or so, I'm going to be sharing with you, as Josip said, some ideas, some insights on how to feel a little bit more confident with sharing your messages, right? So how you share those online, how you share those in front of a crowd, doing public speaking, for example, pitching, even podcasting, whatever it is, sharing your messages with a little bit more confidence and how to do that. So I'm going to do that for about 20-25 minutes or so. After that, we'll jump straight in to specific questions you have about what I've been sharing. All right. So first 20-25 minutes, I'll be sharing information and then insights and tips. And then we go into the questions. Sound good? Okay, that's what we do. Right now as well, but just before we begin, it would be great for me to know a little bit about the issues that you personally have, let's say, with public speaking? What do you want? I'll give you another question. What, after this 25 minutes or after this session today, this morning with you, what would you like to walk away with? All right. If you can write that down now in the chat, what do you want to walk away with or a better understanding of by the end of this? Put that on the right. And again, that helps me, always helps the presenter know a little bit more about the, you know, what the people, the attendees actually want. All right. If he or she doesn't know. Okay. So if you can keep that going as we continue. Right. So to start off with, the very first thing. So remember, being a confident presenter, does that actually mean being somebody who is confident, a confident person, and when it comes to presenting, being confident then? Okay, I would say it isn't. It's more about understanding that confidence comes in pockets. All right, confidence comes when you need it. You don't have to. Most people are actually not truly confident all the time. Okay, we just see parts of confidence. Right now in the job I do, where I share my work globally, whatever I do, I'm quite confident because I know my stuff. I know what I'm doing. I like what I'm doing. I'm passionate about what I'm doing. But I can tell you, you know, other parts of my life, other things I do in my life, other skills, I'm not so confident at them, and that's okay. So it's always remember that confidence is not something that just is something people always have or people don't have. You can learn it. Okay, it's almost like a skill. You can learn to do this. All right. So when it comes to public speaking or presenting, the great thing is, the good news, you can actually learn all these things. You can learn to do all these small skills, improve, get better, and then start actually being even more confident. All right. After this session, I'll tell you now, after this session, you won't walk away feeling a lot more confident, but you'll have a few ideas that will start you on the process. So it is a long process. For some other people, it's shorter. Other people, it's a lot longer. But just remember, the more you invest your time in trying to learn these skills, trying to be more aware of yourself, of how you present, of how others present, you'll get better. All right. So as I say, this session is more about just introducing you to the notion of what confidence is about, and start you on your journey, or keep pushing you on your journey to becoming a stronger presenter. All right. So remember, all presenters, all great presenters, think of a great presenter, think of a great public speaker. That person was not born a great speaker. No way. All right. That person, over time, learned to do it better, probably had a lot of experience. The more you do it, remember, the more you do it, the more you speak in some way, whether it is, like I said at the beginning, actually in front of a crowd, on a podcast, having your own podcast, for example, in front of a large group of people, standing up in class, for example, whatever you do in terms of sharing your messages to the public in a public setting, that will help you become stronger, because you will keep doing it. You will automatically feel more confident. All right. So you keep doing it, you will feel more confident. That doesn't necessarily mean you'll be getting better. All right. So practice. All right. Practice and being self-aware. So that means learning from others, listening to feedback, criticizing yourself, constructive criticism on your own performance. Let's say you've done a talk, look back on the video of that talk, record yourself with your phone. You know, really simple trick, really simple task to do. Just record yourself on your phone for little chunks, and then listen back to that, and you'll hear yourself, and you'll be able to critique yourself as well. So practice and being self-aware will make you go forward a lot quicker. All right. So moving on. before you do any presenting whatsoever, before you start, all right, you really need to know the main thing. Now, I don't know, hopefully you can see that. Can you see that? So what's the value? You really need to identify what the value is. What is it? What's the purpose of what you're doing? You know, why are you presenting? What's the value the audience, the people listening to you, what are they going to get from you? All right. Really important to understand that. Once you've identified that really clearly, it's so much easier for you to share your messages in a more confident way because you know why you're there. If you really don't know why you're there and the value you're going to share to the people listening to you or looking at you, then you might as well forget it, literally, because it's all about what your audience wants. It's all about what your audience need, and it's about what your audience appreciates. All right. So right now, if we were to do that right now, I imagine most of you are here. I don't know. I only know there's Rocco, Dora, Christina, and students in the classroom. A bunch of students in the class. I don't know individually exactly who you are, but I can imagine you're here because you value what communication is about, and you value that being confident will help you in whatever way just get better at sharing your messages, which is such an important communication tool skill we need in whatever sector we're in. All right. So I've already kind of figured that out naturally. And so what I'm sharing with you are things that will hopefully help you do that. All right. So identifying the value, identifying the purpose, identifying why, you know, what are you going to give? What's the audience going to get when you finish? All right. So important. As you notice, I don't have a PowerPoint slide deck. Often there's a reason for that here online, is because I don't need it. We don't necessarily always need a PowerPoint presentation. Online, it's a lot different from when you're on stage or when you've got people in front of you, because online it's so much more difficult to get people engaged. All right. Engagement is so important. The connection you have online is really what you're aiming for, you know, all the time. All right. And it's so difficult to do that because when you're, you know, right now, as you're looking on the screen, I'm sure some of you, there are different distractions. You've got your phone, perhaps you've got messages going on, beeping off. Maybe, you know, if let's say you were looking at this at home, maybe, you know, you've got children running in the background, you've got your pet on the right hand side, you've got something going on over there, the telly on, TV or internet's screen on the other side of the room. So many different distractions. So while you're online and presenting, you really have to really be aware that your engagement has to be tip top. Your engagement has to be as strong as it can be. Okay. And the way you do that are through certain things that will help. So if you notice, where am I looking? Most of the time, not all the time, most of the time, bang, I'm looking at the lens. I'm looking at the screen. All right. So if I look down, so I'm looking at Josep at the top. I've got a few other people there. On my right, I've got the chat. I could be looking at this. I could look at myself even over here. Okay. And we're always tempted to do that, aren't we? When we've got a screen and a lens, we tend to kind of look towards ourselves to see how we're doing and how we're looking. Try to avoid that if you can, as much as you can. All right. Because when I'm looking at you like this, it gives almost an impression that I'm almost giving you like the respect, because you're listening to me and looking at me, I'm looking at you. And when we look at each other, there's a connection. As soon as it goes away, if I was to do this session like this and just look at myself and Josip all the time and maybe chat, these three areas, completely different feel to the whole session, and it wouldn't feel like I'm actually talking to you. So I'm looking at the lens, I'm looking through the lens, I'm imagining all you guys there. That's why I asked you who's here. I'm imagining Christina. I don't know what you look like, Christina, but I'm imagining what you look like. I'm imagining the classroom. Actually, I can see a small, very small thumbnail of the classroom. Can you just wave to me? Put your hands up from the classroom. Great. Hi, how you doing? A big wave at the front there from whoever that man is. So I can see all that, but I'm trying as much as I can to look through the lens. All right. So imagining on the other side of the lens, that's where you all are, and I'm talking to you. Okay. So keep your eye as much as possible on the lens. Another thing, when we're online, how many times have you seen your screen and the people looking maybe down at the screen? So I'm just going to take my webcam off here. Often, how often have you seen that? I mean, it's not always quite flattering, because, you know, I have seen so many nostrils, insides of people's noses for a long time now, bookcases behind, all at different angles. So a quick tip, always try, if you can, to get the angle of the camera, trying to get it eye level or slightly higher. Okay, eye level or slightly higher. If you do that, it actually gives an impression again that they're on the same level. If your laptop's on your table or your desk, simply books, tabletop books, a box if you can, something that will bring it up with anything. Nobody can see that. So right now I've just got like a few books underneath my laptop, and I'm level with you right now. All right. So that again will just give this kind of credibility, a little bit more credibility, because I'm not looking down at you. Okay. I'm at the same angle. All right. Very important. Also, I would say that the one thing, I'm going to ask you, what do you think the one thing which is the biggest influencer in terms of persuading your judgment of somebody, not just in real life presenting, but maybe even more so online? What's the thing that is influencing you the most when you're listening to this or looking at this? What would you say? Put it in the chat right now. What do you think? What would you say? Eye contact, body language. Yes, there's one thing a little bit even more important, even more influential, even more than body language, what we see. It's more about what we hear. So your voice is a real influencer. It's more important than what you see. Even I would say at the beginning, the content, because at the beginning, when you're judging somebody, and we all do it, when we're making a snap judgment, what we hear is a really strong influencer. So remember, sound connects to emotion far quicker than anything else, and that emotion is what is the thing that actually influences us the most. So music. Okay, so music, atmosphere, that creates a certain atmosphere. If I was to put on some music now, or maybe again something that I've seen done quite a lot with in certain webinars and Zoom calls, just before, as we're getting started, there's some music, there's some kind of a background music going on, kind of something with a beat, something to get people feeling good about themselves, something to let people know something good is about to happen. You get them in that frame of mind, and then it's just easier as you start speaking to get people on board as well. So your voice, as I say, is a strong, really, really strong influencer. So it's worth taking some time. So the job I do, the work I do with clients around the world is really helping them to be more aware of their voice, the benefits of sharing their voice in a stronger way with more impact, and also identifying the nuances using your voice. So we're not going to go into that too much now, but one thing I would say is, you know, being a little bit more aware of your voice. How often have you actually listened to yourself? Probably not too much. All right. But it's really worth doing that. So record yourself on your phone, listen back to it. when maybe you've done something online, maybe a webinar, maybe something like this, where you've asked a question out loud, you can hear yourself, you can hear the tone of your voice. So there's different things that affect the perception. What do you think those are? Any ideas in terms of the voice? Put it in the chat. Well, certain parts of connected with voice. Tonality, absolutely. The tone, whether it's a strong tone, whether it's almost like you're setting the energy level within what you're doing. All right. So is it a strong tone? Is it a soft tone? Is it an energetic tone? Is it excitement? The pacing, so the speed of what you're saying, very important indeed. Is it slower? And so remember, when you slow down, automatically when you slow down, what happens is the tone of your voice automatically goes down. So I'm not pushing my voice down, but the tone goes down. And that's a good thing, not always, but that's often a good thing, certainly at the beginning when you start, to share credibility, just to show that you're in control. So calmness in your voice and movement as well really gives this impression and a perception that you're in control. All right. Think about politicians, think about a royal family, think about people of high status. Often the calmness and the control, even though they might not be in control, but that's the perception they share through their voice, often mainly through their voice, is something good. All right. So you've got the tone, you've got the pace, you've also got melody. So the melody of your voice is really important. So, and also the loudness connected with your tone. All right. Something that will make you sound more convincing, make you sound more assertive, is actually speaking a little louder. Now, when I say speak a little louder, I don't mean shouts. I just mean literally imagining the sound is coming from your stomach. Just imagine that the sound is coming from your stomach, coming up, and then you're not shouting, but you're being very clear with your words. Now, if I was to just shout like this, my voice would sound like that, and it would sound very boring after a while. So I add a bit of melody. So I'll add a little bit of melody with the keywords, with the phrases I want to express even more. And you put those two together. So loudness and melody, put those two together, you get something called a little bit of charisma. You get something that will make people be more engaged, and you sound more engaging as well. All right. When I'm sharing my voice here online, okay, I'm imagining that my voice is traveling through the camera and right over the other side. Again, there's another reason why I asked who's here, because in my mind, I can kind of imagine who's here. I've got more names on my right in the chat. Okay. I know there's a classroom with people there. Everybody else, I kind of don't really know who's here, but imagine I could see all those faces. That would give me this kind of image in my head of who I'm actually talking to. And it makes me sound better. I sound better because I'm almost projecting that voice through the camera right over to you. All right. Another way I could do it is just to talk to you like this, and as if you were right in front of me, and I would talk perhaps like this, which is very different from how I'm sharing my messages anyway. So you switch back, and again, camera lens and behind, to really project your voice over the back. All right. And those are small things you can do. You can do them straight away the next time you're online, the next time you're projecting your voice, sharing messages, asking a question, maybe in a webinar or in public. Okay. Right. Moving on. Let's try this one. It's the way you move. It's the way you move. So this is all about the movement. I've mentioned it already, but calmness really does give this impression of being in control. All right. So the more movement, if I was to do a lot of movement and do this, if I was standing up and I was like moving left to right and doing all these different things, again, the level of perhaps credibility and the control I have over myself and the assertiveness I have about myself probably wouldn't be as high as if I was a lot calmer. And how do you do that? How do you start to be calm? How do you give it this impression, at least, that you're in control? And the number one thing is your breathing. All right. So you're breathing all the air in your body, everything that comes in, when it comes out, that's voice. Okay. And that's your expression of you. All right. So being aware of you, again, another thing, how often have you actually, are you aware of your breathing patterns? Have you ever actually, stopped and thought about, how the air comes in your body, how it comes out, how you sound, how you feel? Because all these things affect the sounds and affect the perception of the people listening to you. All right. So remember, just always remember this. So the air, how do you breathe? How should you breathe? How could you breathe better to sound better? All right. Just remember, so air coming in, where does it come in? Does it go in through your nose or does it go in through your mouth? Where should it go in? What do you think? Mouth or nose? Or anywhere else? Let's just go for those two. Mouth or nose. Best is your nose. Why? Because imagine, and we're actually doing it all the time. So if we're talking a lot on Zoom or we're talking a lot online, we're doing that, people that are lecturers, for example, or people sharing a lot of online, doing a lot of online meetings or presentations. You often get this kind of Zoom fatigue, or you feel really drained after a while. Now, a lot of it is actually the air coming in, because maybe they're not breathing as they could be, breathing as best they could be. Because if you breathe through your mouth, if you continue to breathe in always through your mouth, it actually gets quite dry at the back. Just do it right now. Just take some breaths just through your mouth and breathe out through your mouth. You'll find it actually gets a little bit dry after a while. But if you do it through your nose, you avoid that. So breathing in through the nose and then breathing out through the mouth. All right. So my whole process that I'm doing, because I've been doing it and I help people to do it, I do that. But getting into that rhythm and knowing to do that will help you. Again, keeping your throat, avoiding making your throat dry is a good thing. So again, you can do that through more breathing through the nose, and naturally a glass of water. I've got a glass right here. You can't see it. It's right next to me. I've got it there because I know I might need it. All right. I might actually need it at some stage. So it's always good to have that glass next to you. All right. So the way you move. So again, movement on stage or movement in a context where there's a lot of people in front of you, public speaking, the area around you is almost like your confidence area. It's your area. You're in control of that. Okay. So larger groups, larger space, more people more away from you, your gestures are actually bigger. Okay. Larger gestures, more dynamic gestures, moving your body with your gestures at the right time. But on the screen, it's a different matter. On the screen, it's really important to remember is actually to slow down with your gestures a lot more, right? To slow down with that area. I could, if I was standing on stage, I would do this, but I'm not. I'm right in this box with you now. So I need to make sure that my gestures are a lot more condensed, not as fast, a lot slower. Okay. But there's also two things you can almost always see, hopefully in the screen, I can see it now. Two things you can always see while I'm speaking. And those are naturally my hands. Okay. They're not up here. They're not behind my back, so you can't see them. Because if I was to talk to you like this, it would actually sound different. And also almost like the passion and the feel I have of what I'm sharing isn't the same as if I start to use my hands in this way. So just make sure they're always on show. You don't have to do anything necessarily with them. Just relax them, bring them up here, and just talk naturally. What you're sharing will automatically often connect with your palms and with your hands. Okay, because remember, when you gesture, you sound better. It's a crazy thing to get to grips with, but it's true. When you gesture, you sound a lot better, because it actually sends messages to your brain, then it sends back messages to your vocal cords here, and then you sound better with the vocality and tonality. Okay, so and that connects a lot with paralinguistics. So paralinguistics is an area that I focus on, an area really important when you're sharing speeches, especially TEDx speeches as well. Paralinguistics are all about the way we say things rather than what we say, right? So we could read something. Imagine you read something off a script, okay? And you don't know much about the subject, and it's not your subject. You didn't even write the script. You'd just be reading the words, and those words would have meaning. They certainly would, because they're words that we know and we identify with in different ways, and that's that. But the paralinguistic side, where the way you share those messages with your voice and with your gestures and with those pauses that you can hear, really make a speech important. So think about the way you share your messages, right? One idea to do that is, whenever you have something to share, a webinar, presentation, whatever it is, right? Naturally, in that presentation, you'll have chunks, different sections, right? There might be 3 sections, there might be 4, there might be 5, there might be even more, right? But literally divide them up into different sections according to the emotion. So think about the emotion you want to share with that section. All right. Once you've done that, once you know, for example, let's say the first part of a presentation, you want people to, you all want to agree on certain ideas, getting people to agree with you. Again, getting people to agree with you at the beginning of a presentation, of a pitch, certainly as well, is a good move, because once they're on board with you, once they agree with you, they'll feel there's a connection with you. Once there's a connection you've got with them, then they're more likely to actually be on board with what you're saying, and they're more receptive to take in those messages. All right. So think of the emotion you want to place on those sections. Is it excitement? Is it getting them to agree with you? Is it you feeling empathetic to how they're feeling? Is it something that's going to make them really feel curious? Is it something that is quite dramatic and quite scary, perhaps? Whatever it is, make sure you've got this emotion on those sections. Once you do that, 2 things will happen. First of all, number 1, your audience will be able to feel that emotion a lot better. Once you've identified it, and once you've got it in your head, once you know what that is, even just by saying it in your head, thinking about it, you'll probably sound like it or closer to it. Okay, that's the first thing. The second thing is, when you're practicing, it's so much easier to remember the emotion than the words you're saying, right? So when you're trying to remember those words and those phrases and those paragraphs, if once you remember that emotion and you feel that emotion, it'll be so much easier to remember those words as well. Because remember, we can remember emotions a lot quicker and a lot faster than words. We remember the emotion, and that will trigger a connection to the words. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. All right. And finally, really, I would say, just to kind of wrap up this part, is always remember what you want your audience to walk away with. And often you need to tell them, you need to wrap up by somehow telling them to do something or to change the way they feel. Literally some kind of call to action, something that will get your audience to do something different, or to think differently about something, or to do something, to physically do something, to subscribe, to look on a certain website, or to do 3 things that will help them move forward. Whatever it is, you need to tell them to do something. All right. Tell them to do what you want them to walk away with, literally, right at the end. Okay. So there we are. That kind of gives you a flavor of a few things to be aware of and to remember while you're, even before you start presenting on a stage, before you start your next Zoom call, presenting or sharing a lecture, or whatever it is. Just remember those few ideas, and that will help you. Remember, I'm on LinkedIn. So anybody who wants to reach out, if you want to do that, no problem at all. Reach out, just a little message to say that you listened to this session today. On my LinkedIn, there's actually quite a few different videos, different ideas and resources, perhaps, that will help you move forward as well. What I'd love to do now is maybe go over to Josip and then let you take over, and then we can jump into some of these questions and answer those for you.
Yeah, thank you for speaking. That was actually quite well, and I think that I learned a lot. And we can go to questions if you like.
I have to be really quick because I've gone over time.
Okay. From Dora, how important is body language during presenting?
Yeah, Dora, it's really important. So the way we move our bodies, like I said, the movement, the gestures, all that is really important. And the thing is, on this screen, like now, in this environment, it's a lot more difficult to see that body, language. One idea you can do, and a lot of people do that as well, it also helps with the air coming in, especially if you're doing a lot of presenting, is instead of sitting down, because right now I'm sitting down, the air's coming in, I'm kind of used to this, and I know how to control the air inside in my stomach and how I'm sharing it. But one idea is actually to stand up. All right. So standing up, having the camera slightly away from you. All right. And then you can move your body. You can have those slightly bigger gestures if that's what you're used to. One thing, a lot of friends of mine who are professional speakers, when we speak to each other over the last 6 months or so, one of the biggest issues they have is switching from presenting on stages, keynote speeches, talks to large groups of people, large formats in front of large audiences, switching that to this, because it's different. It's a change. It's a skill. You can't do the same things you do on stage. I can't, as a host, as a host at a lot of different tech conferences. I can't do exactly the same things I'm doing on stage as I do here. All right. So I can't see you. I don't know who's here. That's why I ask you, who's actually here. All right. So yeah, body language, absolutely very important indeed. But the main thing is to be aware of your own body language and being aware of how you're sharing your messages. So on Zoom, it's about your body language, how you share your messages, so you sound good and look good. But also, while you're listening, you need to make sure you look good and not sound good because you're not saying anything. All right. So while you're listening, what are the things you can do while you're listening? Again, nodding, having a screen, nodding. That gives the speaker, the presenter, an idea of the things that are getting through, right? And just looking like you're interested. Looking at the screen. Not maybe if your video's on, not looking down at your phone, just looking at the screen. Hope that answers your question, Dora. Next one.
Yeah. Well, I think that you did. Next question. What do you do when you forget your words or lose thought about a specific subject?
Yeah, that's a really good question, because that happens certainly at the beginning. Now, first of all, number one, to try to avoid that is the practice you put into it. So the more you practice, and like I'm talking about dedicated practice. So if you know you're going to perhaps get distracted and move across onto something else, okay, you need to make sure you practice that. Another way to do that, if it's online, there's nothing wrong in having, you know, little post-it notes. I've got all these post-it notes all around me, in case I need to have them as reminders. And that's okay. You can have notes. You can have little things around you, especially on Zoom or online presentations, to help you do that. On a different scale, if it's in front of a lot of people, it's a lot more difficult, because you can't have those post-it notes, but you can have notes. You can have small cards, okay? You can, on your presentation, perhaps, you know, in a live environment, right in the bottom hand corner, where nobody can see it from afar, but you can see it because you're almost right next to it. Just a key word, maybe that you always seem to forget, a key paragraph in your presentation. Bang, you just look at that. And if you don't have those things and you just seem to forget, that's okay. You pause, okay? Take some deep breaths. It's okay to do that. And often, when even just, you know, a second of breath coming in, bang, it hits our brains. And often we can think a little bit more logically and clearer when we have a breath. That's why we always hear, you know, when somebody's panicking, you know, breathe, take it easy, breathe. It's all about going to your brain and making you think a lot more clearly. Okay. Maybe last question now, only because of time.
Okay. Do you inspect stage to tweak everything before speaking on large conferences and stuff like that?
So that again, do I inspect
the stage to tweak everything, like I suppose surround system and
absolutely, absolutely. So the more prepared you are, in a way, you can actually feel more confident. All right, because if you don't, you're leaving everything else up. You're leaving lots of things up to other people. So, for example, a conference, if I was hosting a conference, a global conference, let's say in Dubai, the first thing I do when I walk into the room, I go over to the tech guys and we have a chat about how things will run. I would do the tests. I would explain, you know, what's on my mind, how things are going to run from my side. They would let me know how they're feeling. At the stage, I would walk onto the stage. I would see what it looks like from the stage. And often with the lighting, I would ask the people who are the event organizers, somebody in the audience, to look and ask them, what does it look like from here? Especially if it's a hybrid event where it's all online as well. I want to know in the screen, what you know, does it look professional? Am I in a good frame? Is the lighting down okay on me? So doing all those things, just going straight on to the stage without testing, you're setting yourself up. You're increasing the chances of more problems. All right, let's face it, problems can happen, but the more you're prepared for them and the more you accept that the unpredictable might happen, will actually help you feel and seem more confident. All right. So many times when I've hosted conferences, you know, wherever I've got large audiences. I've got tech, you know, strong tech that could go wrong. I've got, you know, hosting a conference with, let's say, 30 speakers over 3-4 days. Anything could happen. That's my job. My job is to make sure, if it does, to keep everything running smoothly, and actually having the calmness and the confidence to make sure that happens. It's difficult for me often because the tech guys, if I trust them, if they know what they're doing, they'll be okay. If things happen, tech problems happen, but they can fix them quickly. that's the proof of somebody who can do their job well. Yeah, knowing how to deal with the issues, right? So, and that's a big thing for why people hire me at different conferences globally, because they know that if something goes wrong, Peter can kind of make sure it seems like things are going right, or can put them right quickly, making the audience feel it's okay. A tech problem can happen, but it's how you deal with it, which is the real value in what you're doing. Okay. How are we doing for time, Josip? Are we?
Yeah, we're actually right on time.
Okay.
So I want to thank you for taking your time to share your knowledge and experience with us, to teach us about skills I think more people lacking and for sure can improve always.
Good. No, it's been fun. I'm glad I've been able to share this. Again, anybody who wants to link up on LinkedIn. And I think I'll be doing some things with the university next year as well, hopefully. So let's see what happens. But yeah, feel free to reach out. And if you feel I can help you, let me know.
Thank you. So see you then. Bye.
Ciao. Thank you.